Good morning. This is the Paradise Unicorn Priestess bringing you day 332 of A Course in Miracles, the Yin translation, where we use female words. This would be November 28th if you're starting at the new year. The place of religion in psychotherapy. To be a teacher of God, it is not necessary to be religious or even to believe in God to any recognizable extent. It is necessary, however, to teach forgiveness rather than condemnation. Even in this, complete consistency is not required, for one who had achieved that point could teach salvation completely within an instant and without a word. Yet she who has learned all things does not need a teacher, and the healed have no need for a therapist. Relationships are still the temple of the Holy Spirit, and they will be made perfect in time and restored to eternity. Formal religion has no place in psychotherapy, but it also has no real place in religion. In this world, there is an astonishing tendency to join contradictory words into one term without perceiving the contradiction at all. The attempt to formalize religion is so obviously an ego attempt to reconcile the irreconcilable that it hardly requires elaboration here. Religion is experience. Psychotherapy is experience. At the highest levels, they become one. Neither is truth itself, but both can lead to truth. What can be necessary to find truth which remains perfectly obvious, but to remove the seeming obstacles to true awareness? No one who learns to forgive can fail to remember God. Forgiveness, then, is all that need be taught, because it is all that need be learned. All blocks to the remembrance of God are forms of unforgiveness and nothing else. This is never apparent to the patient, and only rarely so to the therapist. The world has marshaled all its forces against this one awareness, for in it lies the ending of the world and all it stands for. Yet it is not the awareness of God that constitutes a reasonable goal for psychotherapy. This will come when psychotherapy is complete, for where there is forgiveness, truth must come. It would be unfair indeed if belief in God were necessary to psychotherapeutic success, nor is belief in God a really meaningful concept, for God can but be known. Belief implies that unbelief is possible, but knowledge of God has no true opposite. Not to know God is to have no knowledge, and it is to this that all unforgiveness leads. And without knowledge, one can have only belief. Different teaching aids appeal to different people. Some forms of religion have nothing to do with God, and some forms of psychotherapy have nothing to do with healing. Yet, if pupil and teacher join in sharing one goal, God will enter into their relationship because she has been invited to come in. In the same way, a union of purpose between patient and therapist restores the place of God to ascendance, first through Christ's vision and then through the memory of God herself. The process of psychotherapy is the return to sanity. Teacher and pupil, therapist and patient, all are insane, or they would not be here. Together, they can find a pathway out, for no one will find sanity alone. If healing is an invitation to God to enter into her realm, what difference does it make how the invitation is written? Does the paper matter, or the ink, or the pen? Or is it she who writes that gives the invitation? God comes to those who would restore her world, for they have found the way to call to her. If any two are joined, she must be there. It does not matter what their purpose is, but they must share it wholly to succeed. It is impossible to share a goal not blessed by Christ, for what is unseen through her eyes is too fragmented to be meaningful. As true religion heals, so must true psychotherapy be religious. But both have many forms? Because no good teacher uses one approach to every pupil. On the contrary, she listens patiently to each one and lets her formulate her own curriculum, not the curriculum's goal, but how she can best reach the aim it sets for her. Perhaps the teacher does not think of God as part of teaching. Perhaps the psychotherapist does not understand that healing comes from God. They can succeed where many who believe they have found God will fail. What must the teacher do to ensure learning? What must the therapist do to bring healing about? Only one thing, the same requirement salvation asks of everyone. Each one must share one goal with someone else, and in so doing, lose all sense of separate interests. Only by doing this is it possible to transcend the narrow boundaries the ego would impose upon the self. Only by doing this can teacher and pupil, therapist and patient, you and I, accept the atonement and learn to give it as it was received. Communion is impossible alone. No one who stands apart can receive Christ's vision. It is held out to her, but she cannot hold out her hand to receive it. Let her be still and recognize her sister's need is her own, and let her then meet her sister's need as her, and see that they are met as one. For such they are. What is religion but an aid in helping her to see that this is so? And what is psychotherapy except a help in just this same direction? It is the goal that makes these processes the same, for they are one in purpose and must thus be one in means. Today we're comparing and contrasting religion and psychotherapy. And as always, the Course is saying that a belief in God isn't strictly necessary. After all, God can only be known. Belief implies that unbelief is possible. So that's not really so much important, especially when we remember that God and love are synonyms. They are one and the same. And do we not all believe in love to some extent? And if we have lost faith in love, then restoring faith in it is certainly part of both true religion and true psychotherapy. We are reminded that in either case, all that is necessary to be a teacher of God is to teach forgiveness rather than condemnation, to see ourselves as having even just one shared goal. And we are reminded that relationships are the temple of the Holy Spirit, not the body. And to me, that means that the individual cut-off shard that we think of as our identity doesn't have meaning until it is in relationship with at least one of the other shards. And as it says in the New Testament, where two or more are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst of them. And if God is love, then love is what is in the midst of them. And love is the name in which the two or more are gathered. We are reminded in this passage how much support we have in our stumblings and in our incompetencies. It reminds us that the healed wouldn't need the healing. This passage reminds us that we wouldn't be here unless we were insane. Patient and therapist alike are insane. Earthly teacher and earthly student alike are insane. As the Cheshire Cat said in Alice in Wonderland, we are all mad here. And the passage also says that any two who share a goal cannot help but be blessed. We are blessed when we do our best to join with one another and see our oneness. All our efforts towards love will be blessed. This passage is utterly and completely dismissive of formal religion. It says it has no place in psychotherapy, but it also has no real place in religion. It remarks how in this world we live in, we have an astonishing tendency to join contradictory words into one term without perceiving the contradiction at all. And that the attempt to formalize religion is so obviously an ego attempt to reconcile the irreconcilable. Can we see that religion is experience and psychotherapy is experience? And realizing that when we remove that formalization, these things have a great deal of resemblance. Similar though they may be, This passage says that the goal of psychotherapy cannot be to have us have an awareness of God. When psychotherapy has done its work, that will be the natural result. God is love. When our mind is healed, we will remember love, and we will know love as it is. If love is God and God is love, it's that simple. We will know God. And even the Course itself explains that teaching us what love is beyond its scope. It is only trying to get us to drop the resistance and blockages that we hold up to love, that we may simply experience it for ourselves as the result of the Course. And so in this, the Course is doing the same thing as it says psychotherapy would be doing, just healing us so that the love can naturally flow in as it was always meant to do. It just won't flow in where we say no. Love has no interest in competing with our illusions, our hallucinations. It waits until we are ready to be singularly, even monogamously, devoted to it, leaving all else behind. This passage makes it clear that the details of the invitation to healing do not matter at all. The purpose shared by the two who are finding one another in love doesn't actually matter. It's the sharing of it completely that matters. After all, we are coming from infinitely, impossibly infinite complexity towards the oneness. So going home is always going to reduce and simplify that complexity. But the souls that need healing are found out on the fringes, out on the edges of eccentricity, of specialness, of uniqueness, of difference and division and separation. It doesn't matter what the route to find them is, whatever works, and whatever calls them home. As we get closer and closer to one another and see more and more how similar we are and sing the song of harmony that must happen before unity can be reached, yes, our methods will bear more and more resemblance. Our purposes will be more and more similar. But on the outer reaches, those shared purposes may look quite eccentric until they come home to center. After reviewing What is the Ego found in show notes, we go on to lesson 332. Fear binds the world. Forgiveness sets it free. The ego makes illusions. Truth undoes its evil dreams by shining them away. Truth never makes attack. It merely is. And by its presence is the mind recalled from fantasies, awaking to the real. Forgiveness bids this presence enter in and take its rightful place within the mind. Without forgiveness is the mind in chains, believing in its own futility. Yet with forgiveness does the light shine through the dream of darkness, offering it hope and giving it the means to realize the freedom that is its inheritance. We would not bind the world again today. Fear holds it prisoner, and yet your love has given us the means to set it free. Mother, we would release it now, for as we offer freedom, it is given us, and we would not remain as prisoners while you are holding freedom out to us. That is the lesson for the day. Happy practicing.